This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. I am back, everybody. I am refreshed and I am ready to go. Um, every time I take a little bit of a minute, I have to kind of get my brain back into it. So forgive me if I stumble on my words a little bit, but I got to get back in my, what do they call it? The shick or the stick or whatever. But anyway, welcome all of you. I'm glad you are here. Today we have Rubberduck in the house, everybody. So please, over here on X Live, Rumble Live, and then X Spaces. X Spaces, if you want to request a mic and ask Rubberduck a question, feel free to do so, and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast, and you can ask Rubberduck your question. Over here on Rumble and X Live. If you have a question for Rubberduck, please put your question in the comment area and I will read those to him sometime in this podcast as well. Also, to everybody, if you come into this podcast late or you want to share the replay with somebody, a family or friend, follow the podcast on the podcast host or my social medias. We are being listened to in 150 countries, so we're making a lot of great big noise, everybody. Positive noise. None of the negative drama noise, which there's a lot of it out there, guys. But follow the podcast hosts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, PocketCast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Jeread Facebook, at Jenny_Jeread X, at JJeread Rumble, at JJeread True Social, at JJeread Instagram, the Revival of America over on Telegram, and the Revival of America over on YouTube. Also, everybody, I say it all the time, and we are seeing it more now in real time, including myself and many of my guests, people that I talk to in the backgrounds. Be careful who you listen to, who you follow, what you're putting in your mind. even people that I am seeing that I have followed or paid attention to, it's happening in real time. I'm seeing it myself for some of the people that I have been following and listening to. So you got to tighten it up, everybody, because the confusion is really starting to happen. And according to Juan O'Savin, if you don't listen to him, I highly suggest you listen to him. Here, coming within the coming days, weeks, and months, it's going to be gripping, guys. Prepare your mind. Whatever that gripping means, nobody really knows yet. We might have a little bit of an idea, but get ready. Prepare your mind. No fear. Stay in the head on a swivel. Pay attention. That kind of thing. So everybody, really be careful who you listen to, who you follow. And also, too, if you get a random message from me, somebody claiming to be me or any of my guests, know that I will not, nor my guests will not randomly reach out to you, ask you if you're ready for the scare event, crypto, or anything financial. Please block them, report them, let me know so I can make sure that they're not in any of my channels. I can get them out of there. And because people are getting they're getting taken for their livelihoods, guys. They're getting scammed. These scammers are becoming more creative by the day, and that's happening in real time too. I'm finding out coming back from my vacation, a lot of stuff has been transpiring, and it's pretty scary stuff, everybody. So please be careful. Also, too, if you have a story or a journey you want to share and you want to get your voice heard on the platform here at the Revival of America, feel free to send me your just a little synopsis of your story. I will read through it. I do vet them because unfortunately we do get the scammers over there as well, giving out fake stories just to get on a podcast. Send them to me to TROA submissions at yahoo.com. Again, TROA submissions at yahoo.com. I will read through them, and if I believe it's a legitimate story, I will get back to you via email. We'll get your voice, your story heard, because remember, everybody, it's your voices, your stories. They're going to help change this new world that we are rapidly coming into, guys. And last but certainly not least, if you have an email or a question directly to me, email me at my personal email, therevivalofamerica at yahoo.com. Again, therevivalofamerica at yahoo.com. If it's anything to do with John Baxter and you want to get down there to see him and use his facilities or have a question with that, email me there. Field McConnell, his books. Just email me there and I'll answer your question as quickly as I can. And regarding Field McConnell, everybody, I did reach out to his daughter again a couple days ago, waiting to hear on a response. So many of you are reaching out, wanting an update on Field. As soon as I have an update on Field, I will give you one. I don't have one. So no news is good news. But if I don't say anything about Fields, because I don't have any update, but I know they are really trying to focus on his healing. So I'm going to totally respect that. And they are, his daughter's been very good about reaching back out to me. So as soon as I know something, I will let you know. So with that, everybody, we're going to get into it. We've got Derek Johnson later this evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time over on my Telegram page. And then right in between Rubberduck here and Derek, we're going to have John Baxter from Anti-Aging MedBed at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He will be going out of town to Switzerland over across the pond. So he may not be here on the show for, maybe a week or so. So I wanted to try to get him on here today before he took off. So again, that's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, everybody, I got to get Mr. Rubberduck up here to speak. And I'd like to welcome my good friend and, weekly guest, Rubberduck. Did you get there you go. What's up? Oh, and do you guys mind? Please take this. If you guys don't mind, repost this space, everybody. Let's get some people in here because Rubberduck, I call it the series because he is a series of great information, wealth of information, a lot of information. And we definitely want people to get in here to listen to him because a lot of stuff that he says and many people out there, they're getting vindication for it. So go for it, Rubberduck. What's up?
What's up, honey? Good to have you back. Can you hear me? I still see the
I
blue dot.
I can. I can hear you loud and clear with that little Lou Rawls voice of yours.
Blue raw. Can you shoot me the co-host or did you do that already?
You didn't get it yet?
No.
All right. Go. I'll send it to you. And yeah,
Let me
it's
see.
been. Yeah, I can hear you great. I'm glad to be back. It was a lot of fun. I just rented a beach house and beached it all week, so it was a good time.
That is good. I mean, I know you were probably listening to some of the more scintillating stuff while you were away.
I tried to pop in here and there. I definitely did, and I'm just blown away at some stuff that I'm coming back to. I'm just like shaking my head in awe, and I know you, Jersey, and we've been talking about things in the background. So yeah, like
Lots of changes,
woo.
lots of well, we expected it, to be this way, as you get closer to the drain, as it goes down, you have no choice but to pass the people, that you met, and you befriended and whatnot all the way up. And it's showtime now. I mean, people want information. They need information, which is, kind of the reason why, we're here. And so sometimes I guess it's easy, even for myself, all of us, I guess sometimes it's easy to get caught up in, some of the narratives, some of the back and forth and stuff like that. So I try to make it my priority that, if I'm not, if you're going to take your time, if anyone's going to take their time to listen to me, anything that I have to say, I'm going to give them my full attention, and I'm going to give them 110% of what I know, what I think. In other words, whatever it is that anybody considers valuable that I have to offer, I try to give that like every single time that I speak, if possible. So at this point, I'm really just, and Jenny, I don't put the podcast and the live stream and stuff like that. That's for, you did. By the way, you got one hell of a stable too.
Oh,
You got
thank you,
you
sweetie.
you got a lot of great, yeah. I mean, because the most important thing is consistency. When you listen to people, whether it's for a month or a couple of months or a year or a couple of years, it's important that they're not so much that they're always right. I'm not interested if someone's always right. What I'm interested is if I'm going to invest my time to listen to someone consistently, then I'll be able to pick out what I know, what I like, what I believe, what I don't. And I have no problem listening to somebody who I might disagree with for whatever the reason, and I'll still continue listening to them. You know what I mean? It's just because if they're consistent, at least I know where they stand. I don't have to doubt their honesty. I don't have to doubt the information that I research, because if it's there and I disagree with it, that's okay too. And unfortunately, the internet is full of, especially this app, it's full with people who are competing to be right. And then you have people like us where we don't care. We just want to put out the truth. And in addition to the truth, what we perceive to be the truth, we want to put what we know out there, because we know what we don't know. And we know there's a lot more that we don't know than what we do know. So when we have spaces like this, at least with me, I'm only interested in interacting with people who are on the same mission that I'm on, or they're interested in the mission that I'm on. You know what I mean? And at some point, and Juan says this, has been saying this for a long time, everyone's going to have to meet us where we're at, because we're the ones that are disseminating the information that are on the front, that are on the fringes of what everybody is seeing, hearing on the television today. And the television doesn't give the full story. That's not what this whole thing was about, my opinion. It wasn't about, giving information to anons and letting them do their best. It was about waking up the world. They came to us. We gave everything to you. They will come back, which they are, except this time it's on the TV. And that's it. And all we continue to do is continue to stay from. I haven't heard anything that was like newsworthy, since Trump got into office, because there hasn't been anything that we haven't been told or pointed to yet in terms of moves and big
Well, they'll never
moves and stuff
report
like
that
that.
anyway.
No, and well, they won't unless that if they won't do it unless that's part of the script, part of the plan. And that's the one I'm not afraid to. I mean, to say it publicly. I don't. Nobody knows what the whole script is. We know it's scripted. We know it's a movie. You know what I mean? Derek calls it. That's what the military operation is. It's theater. And that's the way
Yeah.
they did this one. They baked everything, into a psyop, and they packaged it in a way that would look like no different than a TV series that it would always be available 24/7 to watch, but only when you engaged with it would you kind of have an idea of what's happening. And all Q gave us was like the little TV guide, with the little bullets. This is what's happening on TV, and then they give you a little blurb underneath about each particular thing that's happening on. That's what the TV guide used to do. So that's kind of like what we are. We're like the side guy to what, stuff that's happening, right now. And that's why we don't get caught up in the narratives. You know what I mean? We're not in a rush for anything. You don't hear any of us fucking whining, oh my God, why is nothing happening? People that, when you say nothing's happening, I mute you, block you, delete you, report you. I do everything I can to delete you from my life. And I don't care who you are. And that's it. And that, because I don't have time for that. It's all, I'm done giving out resumes. Everyone that's a speaker on this panel today and everyone who knows what I'm talking about in this room, we're done giving out resumes. You know what I mean?
This is why we love you, Rubberduck.
Well, it's the truth. And I listened to
it.
Derek yesterday, and not for nothing. And he lays it out that, I guess, in a similar way. And, it's how can you posit an argument without knowing anything about the subject, And it just so happens that this isn't like a random argument. The subject matter that we're talking about are the times, the life that we're living in, and how to understand them. You know what I mean? We were never told that everyone's going to be woken up and everyone will be given a pamphlet at a certain time to follow along. We were told that would be us. That's why we don't shut up. We don't go away. We don't give a shit what you have to say, and most of us don't really have much many fucks invested in, pleasing people anymore, as far and worrying about people's feelings and stuff. I don't give a shit. If this thing wasn't done already, right, and these people weren't dead, I'd be fucking dead. I'd be dead. I'd be dead.
Yeah,
because
we
of
wouldn't
all
be
the
talking.
people. Exactly. All the stuff that we called out, we'd be dead. Field McConnell with the fucking Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, he would be fucking dead. And they tried. At 107, dead. Everybody would be dead if all of this wasn't happening now. You know what I mean? If all of this hadn't already happened. Trump would not be able to speak the way he does with the confidence that he does. He speaks like he's the king of the world, that son of a bitch. Because, in point of fact, he is the de facto king of the world. In other words, he's running things. I mentioned this recently. We all know that it's 5D chess, and we all know that it's a chessboard, and that's been the game of our life. We've always seen that. The duality of the black and white chessboard, checkerboard, whatever. And then you have the pawns, you have the queen, the king, and it's all been the game of chess, right? So now here comes Trump. Right? He plays the 5D chess with them so that he can take everything off the board. He wipes out everything they have. And then what he does while the board is empty, and this is what we're going through, he is changing out the board. So the next game that will be installed for us to live our lives on, it won't be chess. There won't be that duality of the black and white board that was there. It's going to be a whole other game. And we're going to be, for the first time, we're going to be players on that board. So it's going to be a really big board, and Trump's in charge of everything. He gets to place all of the kings and the queens, you know what I mean? Maybe some of the pawns too, but we will be there, and he'll make sure that the board is in our name so that it can never be switched out again without our permission, and that might sound outrageous to a lot of people, and it does. But if you can't trust a plan if you don't know that there is one, you can't trust that this is some sort of a brilliant military operation unless you understand and see evidence that there is one, that there has been one.
And
right?
Donald Trump, did you see his True Social? He put that, guys, if you're not following over there, he's really telling us without telling us, guys, but he put out there, he's been a master troll over there. It says, trust the plan, or something like that, and then he put another...
Plan trusted.
Plan trusted, and then another one, panic in DC. So, I mean, like Rubberduck says, he talks with so much confidence. He's not a man that looks worried, seems concerned. So you guys should...
And none of you should either.
Exactly.
I mean, use me as your barometer. I am probably, if there's a such thing as a barometer of humans, where if you go all the way left, asshole. If you go all the way right, asshole. But if you go in the middle, there's a normal person. That's me. That's me. So if I'm not worrying, I'm not like you guys know, I'm a fucking real estate agent down here in Delray Beach, Florida. That's it. A starving part-time real estate agent. That's it. Nobody's a swami. You know what I mean? I surround myself with great people, and I've surrounded myself with great people for 10 years now. So I've gone through this stuff, not just myself, come to the realization myself, experience the whole, emotional arc of losing everything mentally and then building everything up based on what I could perceive and confirm as truth. And once you guys get there, and whether you like it, know it, believe it or not, everyone in your life is in some degree of that emotional arc. It's like an upside down horseshoe. And it starts with finding out. Once you find out that everything you've been taught is a lie, you don't know what to believe, your moral core, your moral compass is thrown about, right? Because, whatever you believed, whether you believed in God or Satan, you're going to have to make a choice between one of those two. And it's going to feel like someone's putting a gun to your head. So I feel bad for the atheists. I feel bad for the non-believers and stuff, but because you're going to have to, you're going to have to come, and you can't just be you. You're not going to be able to look in the mirror and say, please, dear me, help me, because you're going to need something else. So that's what part of this whole thing is, They're the ones that took God out of everything. They're the ones that wanted to kill all of us, except for like 500 million, LGBTQ RSPs that could walk around and be controlled. They're the ones that had the sick and perverted plans, not us, and they set up this whole deception thing, to fool us into thinking that like we were just living a real life, and that all of the shit that they were doing in the background to like murder us from all directions, whether it's spraying shit in the sky, putting stuff in the water or the food, or we all know the tricks now. And this isn't even to talk about the children. You know what I mean? The adrenochrome, the kid, 800,000 children disappear every year. Who the fuck disappears a child? How does a child just disappear and it's not 800,000 a year, guys? So anyway, we know all of this. We haven't seen any perp walks or hangings just yet. But I also have enough of a sense
Because
of
they're all dead.
well, yeah,
I'm kidding.
it doesn't, Jenny. It doesn't take much more than common sense and a little bit of understanding that, hey, listen, if these people are fucking dead, there's no way, because you're not allowed to just kill people, because we're seeing people on the TV and it looks just like them, and they're taking videos off the TV and putting them on the internet, and they look just like them. I don't have an explanation for you, dude, but we don't live in a world, and certainly in a country, where people that eat children, flesh, suck the blood of children, extract blood from their fucking pineal gland through their eye or nose cavity, and then get addicted to that over generations, so much so that they have to disappear 800,000 fucking children every year just to keep up with their global elite fucking addiction. That's the way it
Dude, again,
works.
that's just from the U.S., right?
Exactly.
So the numbers for the world are like several million a year.
I mean, and that's
like 10 million a year or something.
And many of them are born without birth certificates, without papers. Like they're born for this. Think about all of the ads that you see on fucking Facebook Marketplace for puppies. It's the same fucking thing. Before we found out about this in 2016, there were people actually doing that, selling children on the fucking internet. You know what I mean? Hillary Clinton's friend that smuggled 35 kids out of fucking Haiti. What the fuck was her name? Laura Silsby. Hillary Clinton friend. She worked for the Clinton Global Initiative. So she went in there and she tried to scoop up, put them in a fucking SUV. A bunch of children, their parents died from the earthquake, put them in a fucking SUV and took them out of the United States of America. This is after the Haiti crisis, the earthquake and all that shit. And she was brought up on charges and she was indicted. And it never went past that because Bill Clinton gave Laura Silsby his attorney. They pay, I got an attorney over in Arkansas. You know what I mean? Bada boom. And that's it. That's a phone call made and everything went away. And then you don't think what's the news going to come on TV back then? Yeah, the Hillary Clinton friend that works for the Clinton Global Initiative robbed 35 kids and she's getting off because of Bill Clinton. No one's going to fucking tell you that, but you're hearing all of it now. So it's time to decide what you want to hear about, because it's only going to be corruption and bad news for the most part from this point out. And the only person that's going to give you good news is Trump, because he has to tell you everything that he's doing that's good. Because remember, Trump is like the master mason here. He's the builder. He's a bit physically and structurally and policy wise, using federal laws and orders, executive orders, and the Constitution. He doesn't need anything more than that, because that's what they did. So basically, the veil that they put over us with their Admiralty maritime law system, what Trump is doing is not only is he like lifting up that veil You know what I mean? Using a blower to blow off all the fucking dust that has covered everything. But he's like rebuilding those institutions, like he's covering them with gold leaf, if it were, if that makes any sense. Because you can't just uncover them. He has to uncover them and then put them on full display. Hey, this is what this building was for. This is why we started this organization. This is why we have this agency. By the way, do you know what agencies are? This is stuff that we're going to have to learn. It's like learning. It's like when you first went to get your driver's license. Remember how excited you were? Oh my God, I got to wait, but I'm going to go. And this is my appointment. And I'm going to walk out and I'm going to do the test. And I'm going to have a license. It's freedom. Well, I think the same thing is going to happen. They'll likely convert all of those DMV and tax offices into naturalization centers, and we'll all get a pamphlet in the mail or something, an online course, and we'll take it and we'll all get online. It might take a couple of years for all of us, but we will all become nationalized, and we will all become people, men and women of the land. And for the first time, we will live by the law of the land, which is what we always thought, but we always had to fight because it was really their system. So we couldn't fight by ourselves. We had to hire a part of their system because they spoke the language of the law they created. So there's not going to be any more of that, because this whole 10-year arc included a big, huge spiritual battle that included the Bar Association. You know what I mean? Because if there is no more crown and if there's no more queen, and if they don't have the power anymore, and if there are no more, the city of three states, the power center for the cabal, which was London, the Vatican, you know what I mean? And Washington, D.C., the muscle, the money, and the deception. Well, it seems to me that Washington, D.C., Trump announced it was taken over. So the way I see it, Trump now runs the muscle of the world. He walked in front of the queen and bankrupted them. So I guess Trump controls the money. He was talking about rates today from Air Force One, like he's going to start deciding what rates are. Don't be surprised if he does, right? And then you talk about the Vatican, the deception. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Trump is running point on this entire PSYOP process because the signal seems to be coming under him, under the White Hats. It's his guy that's in control of the FCC. He got his guy in there. We don't have the Smith-Mundt Act. We know that, but we've heard people talking about it, not Trump, but people on the Republican side, the conservative side. So we know that it's out there. Little crumbs are out there, right? But the day they reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act, that's the day the script to this operation ends. Because then you can't do the propaganda, the psyops, you can't pull those off and have it be lawful. Q always told us, by the book, by the law, our law. You know what I mean? So I don't think it'll be very difficult to announce one day, once people understand what they did. I think that within 24 hours, people will believe us that they're really dead. If these are really the crimes they're committed, then these Q-tards must have been right. Because you can't have these people. They couldn't have been walking around. All right, that's a little rant. That's done. Sorry about that. It was unscripted.
No, you're good. Well, none of this is scripted, guys. This is all by the seat of our pants. So let's talk. So we were talking about the media, right? We know Donald Trump, our great president, did the White House corresponding dinner again, and everybody, he's the master troll. He's brilliant. I love it. He was calling out the media right there in front of us, and that whole
He will run and he will win.
Yes, and that whole 2028 thing, you guys, is just absolutely brilliant. This whole thing, I believe, was another trap at the White House corresponding dinner. I would love your thoughts and opinions on it because, again, I'm still playing catch up from being gone for a week. But talk to me.
We're going to be a republic, but as far as what will the leader of that republic, like what will the leader of, I mean, when it's publicly organized.
Wait a minute, Rubberduck, we already are. We already are, right? We already are a republic.
Yes.
Okay.
We are a republic, but if
Just
you
to
go and
clarify
take a gun and go to every person in this country, 350 million, you might have to shoot a lot of them because not many even know that. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about publicly. I'm talking about when everybody knows and agrees and understands that, yes, we are the leader of the Western world, and we are this is the republic. So what I'm saying is we don't know what the leader of a republic would be because we had George Washington for a couple of years before they put the veil over everything. You know what I mean? The illuminators, from Europe, the Illuminati Freemasons came over, and that's when they put the veil over our country. They put it in writing in 1871. You know what I mean? So, and this is kind of all the shit that's unfucking. And Trump just can't come out, although I'm sure he initially in the beginning probably wanted to and fought for it, but he can't just come out and say, I'm doing this because they did that. Now, that would be great for us because we already know what they did. So if Trump came out and said, I'm doing this because they did that, it would make sense to us. But make no mistake, he's doing it. You know what I mean? And like he announced that he's running for president. So I'll say it again. Trump has never, ever, as president, he has never said anything that hasn't come to pass as truth. And that's a fact. You can fact check that. So that's why I take everything that he says seriously, even when he trolls. There's truth in his troll. You know, he basically called what's her name a man. And we've been calling her a dude for how long? Caitlin
Yeah.
Collins.
Yep.
She's a dude. Got an
Yep.
Adam's apple. You got to look at the skull. And if you guys don't think this is another big reveal that will come after the children, right? Because that represents a whole other thing. There's a bunch of androgynous intersex people that have been traipsing around the TV and internet forever in politics, in government, in fucking entertainment, sports. I mean, they've been in front of us everywhere, including some of the people we love and still love. And they ain't Satanists and they ain't bad people. They were born that way. They're going to be the victims. And we're going to have to consider that when the time comes. Regardless of what you feel, that's fine. But remember, it's what is and how you respond to what is that matters. You know, that's good. That's going to help you control your emotions through the other side of this. You know, and like JFK Jr. said when, you know, the first magazine, the first George magazine that he published as the editor, and he said, he quoted the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. And that's what we're going to get. We got the president that we needed. We're going to get the republic that we should have always had, that we needed, because this is what the world needs. This is like the biblical part of it. You know what I mean? This was the shining city, you know, on the hill. That was us. It was never a little border town, you know, that was created, you know, and signed off on by the Vatican and by a British king, you know, you know, 47 years ago or whatever the fuck. It doesn't, you know what I mean? So that's not what's in the Bible. So we're going to have to learn a little bit of that stuff too. And I'm no Bible thumper, so I'm listening as we go. But it's funny, you can use a Bible or you can use Q drops. But if you can use the search engine in any online Bible or any online Q aggregate site, and you could find a lot of real answers to what's happening, why it happened, and even how could it be possible that Trump is involved with a plan to save the world? How could that even be possible? Right? Well, not only is it possible, but it's lawful. And not only was it possible, it was necessary. And not only was it necessary, it was the duty of our military to form a civilian military alliance if those were the times that we lived in that called for that. If the military could see, the military couldn't just come in and start shooting guns. We couldn't go running out in the street with our Glocks and ARs and start shooting people. So you have two paradigms right there, you know, and the reason why the Q operation come is so that those two never come together. They psy-up us into this. They're going to psy-up us out of it. I promise you. Promise you. All right. I don't see any hands. So by all means,
have
please,
my.
Oh no,
somebody
there's
else speak.
I
no,
have.
there's some
Hello.
hands. Real quickly, there's some hands, and I've got some questions over here on Rumble. So real quickly, so since we're talking about you know, those people out there saying nothing is happening, just for your FYI, everybody, Jack Smith, if you're paying attention, he's facing now criminal charges. This is nothing new. I believe he's already been captured and is awaiting his day. This is for public consumption, and then Comey, the U.S. attorney over there, I think it's North Carolina, South Carolina, Boyle. He is going after Comey, and he's basically saying there's not going to be any sweetheart deals. He's going after him. So people, things are happening, and it's coming more and more to the public to see. Like Rubberduck and we just said, a lot of this is already done. A lot of them already are gone, are waiting their day, whatever it may be. But Trump has also too made deals with people to help take them down. You can leave a legacy, or we'll take you out now and let the world know all your crimes. So things are happening, and it's in our favor, and it's a good thing because now it's coming out more and more for the public to see. You'll see me a lot in my posts here, hashtag public consumption, because that's for the sleepers out there to finally wake up to what is actually happening and has happened. So, okay, now we're going to go to hands. All right, let's see. I think you had your hand up here for a while. Go ahead.
Hi, Jenny. It's Ty.
Hi, Cy.
Good to see you guys.
Hello,
Always.
Governor.
Hey, Doc. James, Dr. James. Good to see some familiar faces. And
Hey, Si,
always,
what's up, man?
yeah, all good. Thank you. Always optimistic in these spaces as well. It's very. I always find it very uplifting. And wow, Rubberduck, for how you speak so quickly and pack so much in on a kind of off the cuff rant. That's brilliant. Thank you for that, bro. So here
Wait,
in the
you got to say that again. I got to clip it and send it to the missus. What is that again? I'm just kidding. It's recorded.
yeah, I always struggle to remember what I previously said as well. So you caught me on the hop there. But with regard to what's going on in the UK, we've had 8 prime ministers since Trump took power, which speaks volumes. So we've now got a current one, Andy Burnham. That is Labour, which would be Democrat, I guess, for you guys. He's already been told. So we've been on the EU WHO mandate of pushing climate change, etc., to go green, windmills, as Donald Trump calls them. And immediately, the first thing that he's done after a phone call with Trump is to unleash back our oil fields, which is a massive, massive throw stone throw in the eyes of the cabal, and I just love that. He's very weird. He's been acting quite weird, dancing a lot recently, which is very Trump-esque. I don't know if Trump has told him to be like a court jester, similar to like the Hungarian. I don't know if you remember the Hungarian election recently. The guys dancing on a stage. He's been doing almost the same kind of dance. Are they told to dance like that? Dance like a clown? Also, this has got to be totally unprecedented that he came to become prime minister by leaving the post of mayor of Manchester, which is in the northeast of England. So he's now moved Downing Street to the northeast of England. He's operating from there. That to me speaks volumes about the money. As you said, Duck, you know, that London is being phased out and it's being publicly shown to people. And it's only the BBC journalists that are still keeping the spin going, if you know what I mean, because no one really knows. So this guy, he's completely publicly unelected. He's only elected by a few Labour Party members in comparison. So I'd imagine we will be having another general election pretty soon.
He's
So
a temp. Trump likes to install temps
yeah,
because he can get the temps to do whatever he wants.
he does
Here's a
look like
prediction. Here's a prediction I'll make. This guy, and it's going to come out of nowhere. He's going to announce that you guys are leaving the WHO. That will be the next big announcement. I think that you guys will hear because you guys are going to have to. Then it's going to have to be Australia, and it's going to because we're going to have to unfuck the Five Eyes. Sorry to use that term, but that's so, and that's the way to do it. When you unhook them from the WHO, that will open up a lot of freedom for the people that Trump has installed. Because they're all going to have their center stage, and this guy will have his. Don't worry about him dancing on the tables and stuff. Remember, part of this they have to do their They have to do the humiliation rituals. They have to do them just like we did, and just like they did to summon the demons. They're going to do it to summon the demons back to where they came. So I would look for that, just like we saw a lot of ritual here. Remember during the UFC 250, they had people, it was all 1776. It was all colonial times, lots of symbology, lots of ritual. So the things that we were all accustomed to seeing, all of the elegant pageantry that we now know what it all really means, why they do it. I would start to expect to see a lot more of that. A lot more of the symbols, the symbols that we were told to look out for. I would start to expect to see a lot of them, and not for good reasons, because we used to see them connected to like the shit that was to destroy us. They would have their symbols all over it, because that they capture that and all the energy that's associated with it. So in order to rip that energy, because it's still living energy, in order to rip that from the ritual, because if there's black magic, there's white magic. You don't have to believe in it. It's what it is. And if there's white magic that can undo black magic, just like if there are chemicals that can kill, and then if you introduce other chemicals, that same batch can heal. I think that's what they did with the spraying in the sky and with the poison that they put in the water. And I see that, RFK is taking the most public path to narratively prove that, because he's already called out publicly the chemtrails, and now he's turned the food pyramid upside down, which that in itself, remember that what that food pyramid means, guys. It wasn't just a way to keep us fat, right? That food pyramid with the meat and the protein at the top represented something very different. Because any true pyramid scheme, you understand that what lays at the bottom is what's used to feed what's at the very top. So when you see that turned upside down, it's such a big deal. So we have that, So I think RFK Jr., because he's got the name that can pack a punch, right? I think he'll be doing the unfucking of how they fucked over our health, And if they do have all of these cures that both Q and Donald Trump promised us. Remember Trump when he came back from Walter Reed, when he first quote unquote got the COVID and he ripped the mask off on the balcony at the White House. He turned and gave a little interview that we saved, and he said, "You have no idea the cures that are to come." So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking forward to. And that's one of the narratives that I think will play out very well, because they could then put the whole COVID scam into that, and they can use that as a benchmark for every other scam they played, like COVID, like a health scare throughout our life. And I think that's what they'll do. And then maybe they'll do all of this leading up to the children, so that when people get to the children, when they start talking about it, people will be like, well, they did everything else, maybe they are that evil. So maybe the shock will be less than what I think, or whatever, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, everything must come to pass. Otherwise, we can't move forward together, So there is a such thing as meeting people where they are, but there's also something called timing. And right now we're in the fourth quarter. So we need people to meet us where they are, or at least, they need to take a little bit of flesh and risk and put it in the game and take that first step and unbelieve something that you've always thought to be true, and subscribe to something else and find it yourself. And then you can come and hang with us, and everything will make sense. You just need to do it once.
Thank you, Rubberduck. Thank you, Sai. All right, I'm going to go to a question over here on Rumble. Okay, Pete first says, "What about the Vatican Catholic Church that has infiltrated the people? What's going to happen there?" And then Stellar.
Much deeper than that, in my opinion. The Vatican, it being the third of the three power centers for the cabal, the city of three states, the Vatican was the deception center. That's where the deception for the Catholics, by bringing in the Pope, putting in a living man in between the people and God. That's number one. Number two, it was the Vatican that itself created Israel, because nothing in the world happens without Vatican approval. So it was the Vatican and the Pope that gave permission to the king to sign the Balfour Declaration. And their lease is up, by the way, and nobody has even addressed that. So talk about living without borders. Israel literally has no borders now. And I don't know how long the media can keep that up. And Trump, he's going to charge rent even if it's Bibi. So there's a lot of ways that this can go, but the deception that came from the Vatican was always in control of the signal, right? That's why you saw, and you didn't see people giving dollar bills, right, to the cardinals, in a back room. You saw that with an old Jewish rabbi, right? That's where you would see the producers, the filmmakers, the directors, the actors, the celebrities. You would see them all lining up to meet with rabbis that had the same power as our cardinals in the Catholic Church. But to have, people lining up to meet, cardinals with a dollar bill, and why was it a dollar bill? Well, flip the bill over and you'll understand why it was a dollar bill, because that's what they worship. They worship the money, because on the back of the money, the dollar, which is the lowest denomination, that's where the message is sent. That's where the message of the all-seeing eye, the reptilian eye, whereas everything on the bottom feeds the top. They all feed the eye, and we are food. We generate energy for them. We generate vibrations for them. They harvest us in every way, shape, and form, and the younger, the better, and all of that was done by a cover-up, because without the TV, right, and if the broadcast was always controlled through the Vatican, right, that's the real Israeli deception. We never had a chance. You never had a chance. We never had a chance because the same people that control that deception, that those are the people talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, Robert Maxwell, right? It was his company and others aligned with him, Israeli intelligence, Mossad, that wrote all of our history books. That if you're age 60, 65 years old or younger, you have been taught your history by Ghislaine Maxwell's father and his worldviews and what he was told to write in the books by the people that collect those dollars for favors. Because the heads of every major part of society, education, medicine, entertainment, politics, religion,
Schools.
they all wait on that line to give the dollar. And with the dollar comes the blessing. You will always have success. You will always have money. You will always have protection. But you will bow and kneel before Satan and this dollar. Now take it and go on ahead. And I have recordings I have Steven Spielberg's mother doing that. I have Anthony Weiner doing that. I have at least 20 or 30 different times, different pieces, different times where they do this. And that's the way it works. Because listen, if you're going to be the greatest infiltrator on earth, you might as well create the Vatican, and cut off God from the people, right? And make them all wear fucking dresses like a ritual, women's dresses, call them the holier than thou, and let these little scumbag fucking, tunnel dwelling rats who really run it, right? Let them take their little shekels in a back room somewhere in New York City, maybe Brooklyn. You know what I mean? The Shabbat. We got to chase them out, guys. And we will.
Thank you, Rubberduck. All right, go ahead, Miss Stellar.
Hey, yeah, I was just, I'm so glad you opened. I'm so glad that Duck is here. I'm glad everyone's here. If you guys don't mind, can you repost this space, quote post it, add a few friends, because there's so much stuff going on right now. It's nice seeing and hearing the Duck's perception and his views and everything, what he sees. Dr. James is adding to it. There's people all over the place. Oh, I see. I'm golfing in here. Ella Health. Oh, there's a lot of people in here. Anyway, so if you guys don't mind, can you repost it? Just repost this space, and again, add a few friends, because we're coming towards, like you said, we're at almost at the, what did you call it, the end zone, or we're at that part.
We're
Fourth
at the
quarter.
fourth quarter.
Okay, fourth quarter. Okay, we're at the fourth quarter right now, and there's like also, what Duck is talking about, and what Jenny's talking about. These people are really, really evil. And there's a thing called the secret covenant, and I'll put it down in the bottom pill and stuff like that. That is something that was broke out. I guess it was back in the 80s it came out and stuff like that. And it literally talks about like what their plan is and what they were going to do. And this is like, these people are evil. So like, like Duck is talking about and things, 100%. So I'll put it down in the bottom. And if you read it, it'll also help. It'll give clarity on what demons these entities are, and just confirming exactly what Rubberduck is stating. And yes, right now, the spells are being unbroken, 100% being unbroken, one spell at a time, like the dedication back to God, because we do know that God wins in the end. God always wins because he is the creator and he is the greatest ever. So, but it is so nice having that clarity that you guys share with us. But I will put that in the bottom pill. Thank you so much. And everybody, again, if you forgot, repost and add a friend.
Thank you, Stellar. And everybody over here on Rumble and X Live, I will go ahead and grab this link that Stellar's talking about, the covenant. I will put it in my Telegram page, and I will put it over here in Rumble, and you guys over on X can probably just grab it from my feed. So let's see. All right, go ahead, Dr. James, you're next.
Oh, hey, Jenny. Thank you so
Hi.
much. And it's great to be here and see so many wonderful friends. Yeah, and I'm driving around the mountains right now, so that's like I'm actually in a place where I probably
Isn't
won't
that
be.
a song? Isn't that a nursery rhyme? Driving around the mountain? No.
She's coming around the
There you
mountains
go.
when she comes, and that's like the most ambiguous nursery rhyme, maybe. I don't know. Let's ask Andrew Dice Clay about that and see what he says. I don't know. They're all ambiguous. So, in any case, yeah. Last night, we had a space, silent majority, and a lot of us were on there. Really late, Tina Q came in and posted something a thing that Donald Trump had posted at 2:30 Eastern time this morning. It was like, whoa, well, we listened to about 20, 25 minutes of it, and it kept going on after that. But essentially, it was this guy who had been in meetings with Trump, and he recorded out everything he was doing. Trump gave him permission to say what they were doing and talking about, right? He was laying out like between now and November 3rd for what we heard. But in the course of doing all of this, RD, you mentioned earlier about Trump in 2028. This guy laid out a way that Trump could get to be president in 2028, even if they don't get rid of the 22nd Amendment, right? And essentially, the gist of it was that, I mean, he can run and then win by popular vote. The Constitution doesn't literally prevent this. The 22nd Amendment does, but still, he could run, win the vote, and then, but then you have the electors from each state refuse to certify the vote, right? Because of whatever the play is. At that point, the Secretary of State, I mean, not the Secretary of State. Yeah, Secretary. No, the Speaker of the House will select a president, not elect, but select a president in that
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
event. It's constitutionally covered, right? Select Trump. There's no way to overturn it. He wasn't elected that time. He was selected, and boom, there you go. He's president in 2028. There's a lot more about the economy, about gold going up, and some of the ways it's going to work out. He did mention some stuff about, there's just no way they're going to avoid violence in some of the bigger cities, and watch out. We tend to think the troops are distributed around the country now to minimize the damage, but they're going to throw whatever they have at us at some point in time. So we're just going to have to be ready. But yeah, so the thing about President 28, there is a constitutional vector with or without the 22nd Amendment. So I thought that was pretty good news. And that's how we could do it. There was a lot else in there, but, there's a short space, and, I could talk for about almost nothing. So
You're rubber banding, Dr. James. Are you in the mountains? Yeah, you're rubber banding.
yeah, I'm in my step. Oh,
You
was I
need to
rubber
pull
banding
over
the
and
whole
climb a
time?
tree.
Okay.
Okay.
You need to pull over and climb a tree, Doc. I can't
All
hear
right,
you.
real quickly, Rubberduck. Here's one from Lainey Lou 4 over on Rumble. Rubberduck, will midterms be posted, aka election emergency declared? California cert, stolen primary July 10th. We hear a lot of this talk it being postponed, but give your thoughts on it, Rubberduck.
Well, nobody knows because nobody knows what will happen before then. But sorry, someone let me put the do not disturb on.
Yeah, now you're rubber banding. Come on now, you're the guest.
No, I'm getting a call, and it's probably
Go
somebody
climb
that
a
wants
tree.
money. Yeah, no, I need a fucking sniper rifle to execute these debt collectors. What was the the midterms? Well, here's the deal. If we don't fix 2020 before the elections, then everything is up in the air, up to and including some sort of a declared national emergency that either A, prevents the elections from happening on that day, or puts forth something where the elections, at least in certain areas, will be overseen by, National Guard or something to that effect. So they can't block out the windows and fuck with the machines. Like if the machines aren't handled before the election publicly and Trump co-signs it, I won't be prepared for a midterm. If there is one, I'll go vote. It's just whatever. But you know what I mean. So you're gonna have to. But listen, it's it it's not a matter of when. That shouldn't be the question that we're asking. Is there going to be a midterm? Honestly, I don't care. The furthest thing from my mind is voting for a bunch of potato heads, in November. None of us want that. None of us are interested in that. I get it. There's local action, there's local this, there's local that. Great. Love you. If you happen to live in a town where there's like 70% of towns in America are controlled and captured by Freemasons at the local level, you're going to have a hard time with local action. So we still need a lot of speed bumps removed. We still need some street level action that needs to take place. And I'm not saying we need to run out and get in a bunch of gunfights with local Freemasons, but I do believe we're going to have to get to the point where that's going to happen. Like, will you see a news story where something's happening at this place, and you're gonna hear about little sparks of the Civil War talk. You're gonna hear that, because they're gonna try to rev us up. Civil War, then they're gonna put their LARPs out there in the streets to act. A lot of acting. They might even use another black medical dummy. Like they did for the George Floyd thing. But maybe they'll reverse it. In other words, there's going to be something that's good because we're being gaslit every day. That's done for two reasons: to hold our attention, right? And to get people pissed off enough where they're going to say, listen, this can't be reality. There's got to be something else. I feel like I've been had. So whatever they have to do to get everybody to that point, and by the way, that point, that's where the Anons live. So when you get to that point, they'll be able to move forward with everything. And then people say, well, how will they know? Okay, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that you fully believe and subscribe that the government has listened to, heard everything that you've said over your phones since you've been alive? You know that they've captured every keystroke you've ever punched into your phone or computer for your entire life. They've been watching you through your TV, through all of the technology, through your car, everywhere you go, your credit card. You accept that. But you mean to tell me that if Donald Trump came in and became in charge, a commander in chief, when they commandeered control over that apparatus, you don't think they used that to decide how fast and when they would pull certain operations and certain psychological operations to get us all together, the like-minded ones? Of course they did. Of course we're being manipulated. You know why we're being manipulated? Because we're sitting here talking about some stuff that's already happened in real life. So yeah, but the manipulation is to bring everybody together to the same place where we could unite. Because there's some lessons that we still need to learn. And there's a lot of people here that have not learned their lesson. They haven't learned their lessons. They still think life is just, they still think life is what it was, 10 years ago. You don't got to give a shit about anything. You can continue to live a godless life, worship money, and promote yourself within this beast system. And you could do it never knowing that you're kissing rings all the way up to the top. We're only at the top when you're completely blackmailed do you have to turn around, bend over, and pull your pants down. We can't live in a world that's controlled by that apparatus, by that, call it what you want, ideology, cult, whatever. Call it can't be that way no more. And you can't just take a piece of it away. Every fucking crumb that was put into that thing, you not only got to tear it down, but you have to find a way with whatever fucking white magic they have, if that's what they do, and they have to twist that energy, all of that satanic energy. I'm talking about the energy that makes you feel like shit for no reason, no matter what you do, no matter where you go. Why? Because you're always worried about something, and it's usually connected to money and where you stand in the world. Well, for the first time, there's a chance you're not going to have to worry about money, and you're going to absolutely know where you stand in the world, and the only way I found my way there, is through God. That's why Q never said our military will win. They said our militaries were saviors of humanity physically, because they did save us from death. But Q always said God wins. In all capital letters, too. Not one was lowercase. Must have been 7 to 12 times. God wins. God wins. Now, when I heard that while we were going through that, I have to be honest with you. I worried about that a little bit. And I would think about that when I prayed. I was like, well, wait a minute. If it doesn't say that if God wins, I'm with him. So how does that figure? and I read the Bible, I understand, when you understand at the end how, on the last page it says we all win. If you believe, then you're part of it, you're under it, and that always made me think. But as I got a little bit more with this, certainly nowadays, when I look back and they say God wins, what they're saying is that this operation is it's on such a high level where it kind of it's the overarching theme of humanity, which means it's the most important thing. And there's only a group of people that know how important this thing is, this change that we're going through. And we're going to go through it whether we like it or not, whether it hurts, whether people die along the way, people that were going to die anyway, people that got too close to the script and died, people who whistleblowed and sacrificed and died, whatever the case may be. War is hell. And we've been living through a war that's been propagated where the first and only reason why they decided to do it this way is so that they could prevent a civil war in every single fucking country on earth. It's 194 civilized countries or more. Right? Imagine a civil war everywhere. You would have nuclear fucking holocaust. So we're going through this. The TV is showing us Trump is at the wheel, right? He told you he was one of them. Trump was the ultimate infiltrator. Trump was born, raised, taught as a pedigree to infiltrate that system and marry into that system and give birth to children that we would become part of that system. That's what Trump sacrificed for this. That's why I don't trust any of his kids except for Barron, and I don't trust any of his wives except for Melania, because they could very well be part of the system, and there's nothing anybody could do about it. We don't know what choices Trump had to make. We don't know when Trump said, I was one of them. We don't know just how deep he was in there with them. What exactly did he see? What did he have to participate in? And I'm sure he saw everything. But I don't believe that he took part in any of their rituals or any of the activities. That's not the guy.
Yeah, infiltration, everybody. He had to infiltrate the enemy to do what he's doing today. He always says...
And you don't infiltrate a Donald Trump from the bottom, Jenny.
Yeah,
they
no, you don't.
Trump at the top.
And he's always said he's been waiting for this his entire life. So remember that, everybody, because a lot of people will take this and go spin their own narrative. Oh, Rubberduck said Donald Trump was one of them. It's to infiltrate the enemy. You got to know your enemy, right?
Oh, it's not Rubberduck said. Donald Trump himself said,
I'm just saying,
was one of them. I don't give a fuck what people clip. Trust me.
All right, let's go with Golden Age. You had your hand. Go ahead, Golden Age, and then Dr. James.
Yeah, hey, welcome back, Jenny.
Thank you.
So, Duck, you're doing the Donald Trump weave as always. I love it. You go in and out on so many different topics. It's fantastic.
I've managed to find my way back, though, every time so far today, which is a first. If you noticed, I went into the weeds 3 times and I came back.
So, I think that, the whole thing is divine intervention. Right now, I know that they talked about Project Looking Glass, where the cabal kept not seeing a way where they could win. There was no way they were going to win this war. And one of the things that was always good to hear from you, Duck, is that you always go back to, look, this thing has already ran its course. I mean, it's been seen that they don't win. So everything that's going on, as painful and hard as it is to look at, it's nice to know that, yes, in the end, God wins, which means we win. Will it be a global event that brings humanity together, that really opens the eyes of everyone, on the brink of, nuclear holocaust or whatever it may be? Who knows? But certainly things are out there, and they're bubbling closer to the surface with each passing day. The other thing is, you mentioned, black magic, white magic. Well, there's blackmail, and then there's white mail that goes on, and that's how so many people have been left in positions of where they are. They have been replaced because they won't take the offer, take the deal, or you're basically, fucked.
What did Robert David
One
Steele
final,
say so eloquently? Take the deal, motherfucker. We have it all.
I love that video. Great drops. In your DM, Jenny, I sent you a thing that David Clements did on how Trump can run in 2028 and legally become the president.
Okay.
It's in your. I think it'd be great to share that with everyone. If you listen to
I'll grab
David
it.
Clements, and if you,
I'll grab it. Thank you. And put it in the purple pill, everybody.
and if you look at him and you listen to him, I'm only going to say this once. He's one of the characters that Junior plays. There's no doubt about it. That's all I have.
Oh, I love it. I love the ambiguity.
Thank you, Golden Age. Go ahead, Dr. James, and then Jersey, go ahead after Dr. James.
Okay, hey, yeah, I found that tree. I think I'm just holding on here, so I think I'm good with the signal now because it's a tall tree.
Are you hanging on with your fingers or your toes?
My toes, like a
Hey, and
bat.
if it falls, you'll be able to tell us if it makes a noise. Ha ha!
I'm hanging on with something. I'm not gonna say actually, but so Rubberduck
Ah.
at the beginning of that, you said something about this being a psyop, and we know that the Q drops are a psyop, a positive psyop for humanity. There are positive and negative ones, and like you sort of posited the question of why would they need to do this, right? So it seems kind of intuitive that like so that you when you said they wanted to pull a group of like-minded people together, right? Well, what kind of people were they looking to pull together? They were looking to pull together researchers, patriots, thinkers, analysts, and
Veterans.
veterans, and that that were willing to possibly consider that something was screwed up with the country and everything, right? So when you consider that group of people, something that almost all of them have in common is that they're all jaded as fuck, right? I mean, do you know any of us that weren't jaded 10 years ago, 12 years ago? I'm sorry, but like we could like make those statues out of ourselves, We
I
were
didn't know I was
literally,
jaded. I thought I was just bored.
well, you know what I'm saying though, right? It's like you didn't believe Jack. Everything was bullshit, So if you have that group of people and you want to get them together, they don't believe anybody, you know? How are you going to get them to unify? We're not good at unification. We're really good at finding the little bitty differences that we just can't stand in somebody else and using that as the wedge to keep us from unifying because whatever, right? That's the way we've been conditioned to be. That's the way they trained us and educated us and taught us through schools and through flipping everything, right? For 60, 70 years. So, how do you pull a group of people like that together? And you have to pull them because they're the only ones that are going to.
Oh,
And so I think this is the only way you do it. You get them fascinated in something so tight and locked in that they come together trying to solve these problems, riddles, clues, figuring out what's not, what is good information, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's probably the whole, I mean, that has to be the whole reason it was done in the first place, right? If you didn't do something like this, no one would unite,
Well, it was what
right?
we
We'd all
found.
just be sitting
It
out
was what
there,
we found that brought us together. They did pick us in the way
right?
that you say, but and just like you say it, they're the ones that they made the gumbo. We were the gumbo soup. But when we all started finding out things together, we didn't have time to decide, who was who. We knew where we needed to get quickly. With the help of the veterans that were a part of the group, too early on. The immediacy of it. That was a brilliant thing that they did. They managed to create. Immediacy, and in part that was a psyop because what they told us we would see in the future was actually going on right then and there. But we didn't know that it was actually going on right then and there because the TV didn't tell us. So we had no choice but to go by the faith of what they were saying, but nobody would do that. So that's why they brought Trump in to confirm what Q was and to confirm, in other words, to let us know that not only is he a part of it, but he's in charge of it. And there was only one way that could have been done. And there's only one way that we would have accepted it. And if that was knowing that the man they brought us in here for was the real deal. And we got that.
Well, I wanted to add to what you were saying too. So, I mean, I think that, like with you woke up a long time ago because you were in New York when 9/11 happened. I remember you saying that several times. So you woke up a long time ago within that part. I really woke up a lot within seeing the AIG shuffling around because I lived in Pennsylvania during that time. So I saw what AIG was doing by moving companies from one side to the other. The things that were going to be lucrative would stay in the AIG bundle. The ones that weren't, which was going to be the mortgage insurances and different things like that, stuff that they wanted to get rid of. Home warranties were in that bundle too, by the way. And I worked for two different home warranty companies as well. So, real estate, there was a lot of real estate stuff that was in that bundle with the stuff that got tossed off with that AIG split that happened back in 2002. Now, okay, you understand what I'm saying. So, we see these things, we see these maneuvers happening. We don't understand back then, but it's like, that's kind of unusual, and then me being in real estate, and years later, when the fall happened, my ex-husband, who is also a bankruptcy attorney, so understanding how the bankruptcies work, I saw perception that way. So I was awakened really hardcore by what was going on within the crypto, banking, Basel III, et cetera, financial. So, but then all roads did lead to Q. Okay, I will say that. All my awakening came that way. Your awakening was through the 9/11. Dr. J's was something else, but everything did end up leading to Q, which were those D codes and stuff like that, which kind of helped. Because to be honest with you, that's what I got goosebumps now. When my cousin brought that whole thing up to me and stuff like that, it made me feel like, "Oh my gosh, I really am not crazy. I don't see this stuff happening this way." I mean, I saw the corruption. I went through the pardons with the Clintons. I went through the pardons that, Obama did and all that stuff. I went through all of it. I saw, like, all the deals that were going on, like you guys were talking about, but not knowing that anything would ever happen. The roads did lead into Q. Then my road, and I was more, still teaching and trying to show people the ISO stuff. I was on Telegram. And then, one day I got really drunk and stoned and I wandered into the pond. And then that opened up to all of you guys. And that was my connections, because it was like, oh my gosh, there's really stuff happening and things like that. And that was that, if you want to say, wow, God really is going to win, and that was the hope. And then the knowing that things are shifting and changing. And then what Trump has done since he's been in office, the little, the stuff that he's put, safety nets that he's put in all over the place so that it wouldn't be as bad it was supposed to be. It's, we're going to have a little bump, but it's not going to be anywhere near because he put those safety nets in because he's brilliant. And I do feel that he is guided by our creator and Jesus. So God wins in the end, just like Q said. And that's what's happening is everybody is starting to think and all these different paths where we ended up, coming together. That's the unity. Unfortunately, like you said, there's been so many people throughout this movement or through this awakening that were the baddies or whatever that have infiltrated. But through the end, we're still standing and, and we're getting our country back. And as the deprogramming is happening, that's when people are questioning. And people like you guys, platforms like you guys have, I think it's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Stellar.
Stella. I think one of the most brilliant things that Q did at the beginning was 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 provide a visual for the pyramid structure and who that represented. When they explained, because it represented the back of the dollar bill, something that we could all agree on, that there was a point in time where we didn't quite know what it meant, And it's one of those weird paradoxical things, because even if you did find out at an early age what it meant, for some reason you're okay with it. We're okay with giving somebody else a piece of paper that has a, satanic New World Order symbol on the back of it. It's like, we knew it, we know it, we know they're out to kill us, but for some reason, I guess it's just one of those overwhelming thoughts, that one of those things you can't control. So you just live and you pray that the New World Order doesn't come too close to your front door. And that all ended, in 2020, So, but when they put that structure in the beginning, and they explained to us how Trump would dismantle the pyramid structure, completely. And when you dismantle it, he explained that the Saudi Arabia represented one side of the triangle, the Rothschild family represented the other side of the triangle, and Soros represented the bottom part of the triangle. That was the power structure. Those were the three entities used to comprise that image on the back of our dollar bill. And so you can go side by side, Saudi Arabia. Trump went in, got the sword dance. All the princes were arrested. That's like their cabinet, their government. They were all arrested, replaced, whatever. So that Saudi Arabia was handled. That was so one side that also represented the child trafficking, and also where all of the occult ritual activity. Lots of stuff happened underground in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of it happened above ground, because that's, again, you have a part of the country where their ideology and their religion, it's legal. It's okay to, it's not a big deal if you see some of these things happening to children that we see over here. They don't call the cops on it over there. That's why they called it Bloody Wonderland. And we all know
Yeah.
that the Rothschild side of the pyramid, we all know that that's connected to the London part of it and to the money part of it. And then the Soros part of it, that's what's connected to the Vatican, because Soros is connected to the deception, because he's the conglomerate that kind of runs all of the street level LARP operations and most of the communication, signals, TV and shit like that.
Thank you,
Oh,
Rubberduck.
oh,
Okay,
oh,
we've
Jen,
no, 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 no. Hang on, hang on a second, Seller. We've got a bunch of requests that just came up. So, and I know we have some hands. So, Jersey, I think you had your hand up too. I don't see it now, but go ahead, Jersey, if you have a
Okay,
comment
I'm
or a
here.
question. Go ahead.
I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I just want to quickly remind everybody of what's going on. We got some breaking news, which is really great. The Biden Heard tapes are being released. When exactly, I don't know, but the judge just said, "Yep, everybody can listen to the audio tapes now." That's huge, because it's going to show the rest of the people that there's no way this man.
It's going to
I mean,
confirm the
wrote a
auto
lot of
pen.
this. Pardon me. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. And then we also have, jump in, Duck. I don't care. We also have Zelensky and Netanyahu coming in town. Probably today. Everybody's coming in town for Lindsey Graham's funeral tomorrow, which is at the National Cathedral at 2:00. And then just, I don't know, I just got a feeling we're hearing when you guys are talking about Hillary and the Wonderland and everything. Well, the Q drops of this past weekend all hit on Hillary and all of that. So it's really interesting that that's coming up again.
Well,
And
remember,
just one
most
last
most
thing.
of the major comms that have been put out into the Q community, that Q has referenced and stated very clearly, is when George H.W. Bush's funeral and John McCain's funeral. So I'm gonna pay attention, because that was one of the three amigos. Was Leslie? It was Leslie. Who's Leslie Graham? What is his first name?
Lindsay.
Lindsay. Oh my God,
He might
Leslie.
as well be a
Oh,
Leslie.
I sound like a
Oh,
rubber
what?
dick.
I didn't say that today, but hello, Rubberduck.
No, they used to call him Lady. Lady Lindsay or something. Lady something. Okay. And then the last thing, I think I figured something out. And probably the last person to, is that I think our election and national emergency that Trump hasn't done an executive order yet because we haven't talked, but I think it's going to be these voter rolls across the country, because I swear every day I'm reading thousands and thousands of fake votes. And if I'm reading that and they're seeding that, I know other people are reading it and saying, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that." Now here comes so across the country, thousands of votes were fake, and now we have fake people in office. They did not win these elections. They all have to step down. But now, you know, now comes to Trump, because now it's nationwide. He's the president. He's got to do something about this, because we don't have people in office that we voted for. Boom. There you go. And then he brings up his national emergency.
Thank you,
Woo!
Jersey.
What
Good
do you
job.
think?
Woohoo!
Real quickly, so for those of you that have requested and I've given you a mic, please, if you have a question for Rubberduck, raise your hand so I know how to call you guys in order. I see Susie. Is it Susie or Susan? I think it's Susie. Susie, go ahead. Your hand is up. Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hey, good. Is it morning? No, it's not morning
Good
anymore. It's 11
afternoon.
minutes. Yes,
Good
good
day.
afternoon. Well, I'm on the West Coast, so I gotta like check the time
Me
and
too.
do the conversion and what the hell. Anyway, I'm so glad you guys are having this space. You know, I try to go into spaces that make me feel better about life. I can't do the black pilling, okay? That'll just set me into a place I don't want to go, and then I just gotta go binge watch something stupid on TV like MASH, which isn't really stupid. It's really funny. I don't even know if I can
Replace
get that
MASH
now.
with the blacklist and it'll be worth it.
I think I watched The Blacklist. Who is the guy that's in that?
JFK Jr.'s former best friend.
James Spader.
Yes. Oh, isn't he awesome? Yeah, I binge watched that whole thing. Right now we're doing Homeland, which is kind of cool. It's CIA, blah blah blah, based on reality, not reality. Anyway, you know, you're talking about the Q stuff. I think the other reason for Q was because you have to give these military folks something to do. These sides go kinetic. So let's give them a puzzle to work out, because they be seeing this stuff going, calling all their friends, well, not calling, but meeting them somewhere in undisclosed location without their electronic devices, going, okay, what do we got to do here? Who's doing what? And getting it all together. And I think that was also part of it, is we got to give these military dudes something to do, because they'll see this and go, uh-oh, we gotta act. So I'm really glad it's working out the way it is. Although I'm a rip the band-aid, you know, I'm a retired nurse, and I'm more like rip the band-aid off kind of person. You know, if I'm going to give somebody a shot, they're not going to feel a flipping thing. I am like a dart. I'm in and out of there so quick. No, what? You're done? Yeah, we're done. You're good. No matter how big the needle is. Well, there were some that were pretty big, but you know, I'm sorry you came to the emergency room and there's three of you and you all need a massive penicillin dose, and I've got to get the largest needle out. But anyway,
Yeah, if
we
I
shouldn't
see
have
you
been
coming at
pulling
me,
together the same tool.
we'll have a chat first. If I see you coming down the hallway at me with a needle, we'll have a little chat first.
I tell you what, this thing here was a 14 gauge. I mean, it was frickin', I mean, the pharmacy brought it
14
already
gauge. Why didn't
in
you
the
just fucking
syringe.
stab the guy? Holy shit.
I know. I saw this and I went, and it was like two Mexican dudes and a girl. And I'm like, okay, to the Mexican dudes, drop your pants, hold on to this, like bend over and brace yourself. This is a little mosquito bite. Oh no, brace yourself. This is a big one. Anyway, I don't even know where I started and how I got there, but
You
whatever.
did good, Susie. You
Anyway,
did good.
brace for impact. That's where we're going. Brace for impact. You know, that's where I'm going here. Brace for impact, because I'm telling you, it's going to hit quick. Like, if you stock up on stuff, you should always stock up on stuff. You never know when the weather's going to go squirrely. I've been prepping for 25 years. I think we started prepping before we even had children, and I'm still doing it. I got more chicks coming by, I think August 5th. Nothing can happen before August 5th because I want my chicks, okay? Gotta have the chicks.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Susie. Okay, I've got Sumaya. Did you want to have a question? You had your hand up at one point. Do you have a question for Rubber Duck?
Sorry, thanks. Yeah, I was having issues with my phone, so
Oh,
apologize.
you're
Hi,
good.
Samaya.
Hey Duck, how are you?
I'm good. Samaya's one of my oldest, longest friends here. We met at I think the first day Truth Social launched, we met.
Pretty much right around there for sure. And I've learned so much from you, Duck. And I I wanted to continue what James talked about because when President Trump posted it, I went through and read the entire transcript this morning, and it is chock full of comms. I will post the link in the pill
Please
for
do.
anybody who wants to look at it, because I think I think he's telling us about the Black Swan coming, and B, like, let me just open the page.
Trump basically,
So
while you're opening the page, Trump basically said on Air Force One, this way I took it. Trump basically said on Air Force, he wasn't complaining about the guy that he just put in at the Fed. But what Trump is saying is that he wants to be the one. He's hinting that he wants to be the one. He wants Washington, D.C. to control the rates. He wants Washington,
yeah,
D.C. to control what the value of goods, services, and money is because we are the primary global consumers. Remember, we were the experiment that was set up just for that.
yep, 100%. And so in this video / transcript, and the guy who wrote this is James Rickards, and if you know him, he's been a gold bug forever and has written books about gold. In here, he talks about that he's still buying gold, but he says a few things. One is that he brings up the RNC speech that President Trump did back in 2024 and how that night closed with Nessun Dorma. And he specifically calls out that the climax of the song is a single word repeated 3 times, and I'm going to butcher the Italian pronunciation, so Duck, you can correct me, but it's vincero 3 times, which translates to I will win. And
Vincero, Vincero, Vincero.
Exactly. Thank you. See, much better than my Italian. And then he talks about Sum of All Fears and how that song plays at the climax of the film as the enemies of the state are slaughtered. One by one they fall. And then he highlights, he being Rickard, says the tables are about to turn, and he highlights that in yellow. And he names 4 people that he thinks are going to get charged very soon, which would be Comey, Peekaboo, James, Jack Smith, and Tim Waltz, plus people from Biden's inner circle. He doesn't name names there specifically.
And who did we, real quickly, and who did we speak about? Who did I mention early in this podcast? Comey and Jack Smith. So right
And
on.
don't
Thank
forget,
you.
Jenny,
Yeah.
Jersey just brought us some breaking news about this interview with
About Biden.
About Biden. I'll bet you that's
Yep.
going to lead to other people that somebody's talking about.
100%. And so basically Rickard's thesis, I won't go through all of the details, but he's basically saying that there are 4 storms, of which the 2 that I remember off the top of my head are the political stuff that's going to come out with charges and arrests, and then with the nullification that all the sanctuary states are trying to pull. He's saying something to the effect of he's not predicting a civil war, but he's predicting that, something's going to happen around that. He specifically called out the Insurrection Act as a way to overcome the nullification that those blue states are trying to do with the sanctuary laws. And so there's a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of comms, and that's why I think President Trump reposted it. And then also this morning, President Trump continued with the 1929 comms, and so I wanted to get your thoughts on that. He posted in the post where he talked about John Thune should not allow the Senate to leave town until it passes Save America or terminates the filibuster. And then he brings up and the ever looming debt ceiling disaster, 1929 exclamation point. And so, Duck, you probably know all the details better than I, but remember how during the 2020 campaign, he was talking about how if Biden got elected, we'd have a worse market crash than 1929.
And I don't think he's saying that on accident either. And remember,
Right, exactly.
Trump puts the crumbs out there, not to tell you, hey guys, batten down the hatches. This thing's going to get really fucked tomorrow. But he's
correct.
But what he tells you is this too, like everything else I've stated as president, will come to pass, whether you like it or not. So prepare for it. But I'm here to guide you through it all. That's what when I hear Trump make big statement comms like this, that's the way I consume it.
100%. We're totally on the same page, because he also, talks about the golden age and how the stock market's going to go to 100,000 and all this other stuff. So it's going to be bumpy, and I think we need to not be panic hands. But he's been dropping for the past 12 months. He's been dropping 1929 comms. He posted I don't know if you remember the Easter parade in New York in 1929. He posted that video a couple times. He's posted other
So
truths with 1929 in them. So
real quickly, Mike, can you pop that down in the purple pill, what you were talking
yes,
about? Okay, awesome.
yes.
And then we've got one more question here for you with JP, Rubberduck. So go ahead, JP. JP, where you at? Hello. Your mic's unmuted. Go ahead, JP.
Damn it. I was looking forward to hearing him too.
Yeah, well, he came off the mic. Go ahead, JP. He might be having trouble with his speaker. Or oh, bye. He came up, he left. I'm going to give you a speaker again. So go ahead and see if that works. Oh, he went out. Okay, well, maybe he'll come back in. But Rubberduck, while we wait, if he comes back in, do you want to say anything to close us out?
Well, I think in regards to just to tail end off of what Samaya was saying, I think that goes for everything. And so in terms of paying attention to Trump, nothing's going to happen that Trump won't tell you about first. Nothing. He may have said it a long time ago and you didn't pay attention to it. And that's okay. But you have to understand, we are the news now. I'm not saying that braggadocious. This is something that was literally thrown in our lap, how to disrupt the narrative and how to replace it with truth. So, and we're just normal people that are like doing this as a side gig. So we're here to help, like with spaces like this. And I don't say believe us at our faces, but what I'm saying is, look up some of the bullets, some of the words, some of the things, and then the topics that we talk about. You'll find out everything yourself. And trust me when I tell you, just like he led us through the scariest time in our nation's history with this COVID thing, and we'll come to find out together just how big and dangerous that really was. He led us through the whole thing. He was on TV every day. Even when he wasn't president, he was on Truth Social making videos every day. So that's something to consider. He's not going to leave us.
And Christmas.
Very good.
And Christmas, yep. All right, JP, you came back up, and go ahead, JP.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Rock and roll. 5-5.
Yeah, you guys were just talking about arrest, and I think they're setting up this Ilhan Omar for an arrest and a deportation. So I think that they're setting up a lot of precedent for a lot of things, and I think that'll lead to, if you're not a U.S. citizen, naturally born, you should not be participating in government, especially in an elected position like hers.
I love it. Let's go. I think, if this whole pausing thing of the midterms comes to fruition, I think we could be seeing a lot of arrests there, guys. So, again, like many of us say, this has already been done, but it has to come out for the public to consume it, because a lot of their heads are still stuck in shit. And they got the beer goggles on, but there's no beer. It's just shit on it. So just pay attention, everybody. And I always tell my audience, and Rubberduck says it, follow Donald Trump. If you're wondering who to follow, you're that confused, follow Donald Trump over on True Social. I say it all the time. He is literally telling us without directly telling us, but he is giving us those crumbs that Rubberduck always talks about. And it's happening, guys. I mean, we are winning, but he is a man of calm, confidence, and a man that is not worried. So we shouldn't be worried. So go ahead, Jersey. You can close this out. I saw you with your hand up.
Well, before that, real quick before I forget.
Go ahead.
When consuming Donald Trump, okay, and what I mean by that is when you're listening and paying attention to Donald Trump, because hopefully when you watch him, you're going to hear the same thing that you've heard a million times over again. Forget all of that shit. When Trump goes into the weeds, right, you have to listen to him as if you're sitting in a room with him and a couple of other people, and he's talking to you. And while he's talking to you, you both know that the other people in the room are trying real hard to listen to what you're saying. and he doesn't want them to hear, because he wants you to hear what he's telling you the way he's telling you, because he knows, because of the trust you've built over the last 10 years, that you'll understand what he's saying that nobody else will, unless it's somebody else who understands how he speaks. So from this point forward, if you listen to Trump, I'm not talking about the stock speeches that he gives with the bullet points. I'm talking about every single time the man speaks publicly, he gives you the usual. That's for the normies. That's for the TV narrative. But when he goes off script, and that's of course when the media and the people say he's crazy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's a loon, he's going crazy, he's got owls, whatever they say, it don't matter. Just remember, he's speaking to you as an individual, you as one of the people in this room. He's speaking to you. So if you remember those circumstances and just paint the picture in your mind, all right, Rubberduck said he's speaking to me. All right, he's going off topic now. He's going off script. That means every time he goes off script, he is speaking to us. So, and if it's not us right here that are the anons, then it's operators out in the field. You understand? So that's
Yep.
how, and that was the only way he could have bypassed them in order to get truth to us so that we can fill in the background with it, which is what we're doing now.
Thank you, Rubberduck. Okay, JP came back up. JP, go ahead. Were you finished or did you want to add to?
Oh no, I was finished. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay, Jersey, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something, hon?
I just wanted to say real quickly again, I think that once the story about these voter rolls really starts to catch on across the country, we're not going to have a possibility we won't have a midterm, because when everybody, the whole country can see every state that has all these bad votes in it. So we're going to have to have a new election with paper ballots, 1 day election within 120 days of, I don't know, something when they announce it.
Well, for the
And it's
first time
legit.
ever, we're having a convention for a midterm, and that's never happened before. There's
Right.
going to be a Republican convention before the election. Don't think that there won't be some symbolic things that will be announced and updated at that point, in time as well. Because that's the way. Listen, here's the deal for everybody listening. If by chance, if you're wondering, is there going to be a midterm election or not? Number one, you shouldn't be worrying about that, because that's not an important question that needs to be answered at this point in time. In fact, that's so far in the future that if I were to sit here and lay down to you different points and dates and time when certain trials were going to be, enforced. In other words, when trials were going to start to be happening. If I were to tell you all of this that's going to become mainstream media news between now and the election, then you wouldn't believe me, but you would understand. So for that reason, I say, don't worry about it, because if enough shit comes on the TV, the furthest thing that you'll be worrying about is an election, because whatever is happening on TV is whatever is happening next. You know what I mean? They're talking about the election, but note how that it's so far away. The fucking guy is 15 months into his first term. They're already prepping and he already has had to announce. That's why he announced, whatever the reason he did it. He's did it, and he's going to do it. But he did that to put that line down in the sand. In other words, keep giving them something that they have to hop over, because they don't have bullets anymore. They don't have money. They just have whatever resources in the media that they have left to sway your opinion, to sway you away from us, away from Trump, away from your country, and away from Q, and away from God in doing so.
Thank you, Rubberduck. All right, Dr. James, I can go to your.
I'll use that to close it out.
Well,
Oh, wait,
Dr.
no, Doc's
James
gone.
has his hand up, and then I got to close that out because I have another show here in 30 minutes. So go ahead, Dr. James.
Yeah, just a touch closed loop on that whole election thing. Everybody's worried about it. We're going to have one. We're not going to have one, and they're stirring it up. But the reality is this: no matter what happens, civil war, unrest, anything, the only constitutional way to cancel or postpone the election is for Congress to vote on it with a 2/3 majority in both chambers, right? And that's not going to happen. So no matter what happens, if our country is still here, we will have an election, right? and worrying about that. And so if something brand new happens, like that we've never seen before, it could change things. But I'm not expecting it really. There's so much else going on. I don't see it, right? I mean, Harmy Dillon is closing the loops on all these states with the voter rolls, right? They've got cases opened everywhere. And, I think a lot's going to happen real fast. And we may be in a lot of crisis in this country, but unless, and Congress, this Congress will not do it, right? They won't impeach a judge. So we're not going to see the elections canceled or moved unless the country is officially declared, not to be reformed and they pick a new election date. That'd be about it.
Thank you, Dr. James, and everybody here. Benjamin, I just saw your request to see. Here's something for you, Rubberduck. Next week, everybody, Rubberduck is with me every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and he wants Benjamin would like to see if you could maybe next show, Rubberduck, break down some of the symbolism for the normies out there, right? So maybe we can talk.
100%.
We can talk about that.
Consider it done.
Awesome. So we'll talk about that next week, Benjamin. And for those of you that came in, thank you so much. Again, I want to say thank you for supporting the Revival of America, just being here, listening, asking questions. Because of you, the Revival of America can be, and I am in my 6th season, and I contribute that to you, my audience, because without my audience, I wouldn't be the Revival of America. So thank you so much. Come back here in 30 minutes over on my Telegram page. I will be having a show with John Baxter, Anti-Aging Medbed. And
Are you doing Derek tonight?
yeah, I'm doing Derek. He will be over on my Telegram as well at 6:30 Central Standard Time. So come be.
Are you going to put him? Are you going to put him over here too, or no?
Yeah, I'm going to stream it live on X and Rumble, but yeah, it'll go through Telegram, and then we'll just stream it out the other places. So yeah, join us, everybody. I encourage you, because if you're not listening to Derek Johnson either, you might want to, because that man is being vindicated, and I couldn't be more proud of him for his tone has never changed. He's been right on it, everybody. So
I've never missed a show, never, and I won't. You'd be stupid to.
well, get your ass over there tonight and be the rubber duck that you are. And God bless you all.
Hey now, love you, Jenny.
Love you,
Love you,
rubber duck.
everybody.
Love you, Dr. James. Love you, everybody here in Jersey. Stellar, everybody. God bless. We'll see you soon, and have a great rest of your day. God bless.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.